Love it or hate it, the M4 Sherman is one of the most iconic tanks in history. It fought in every major theater of World War II. It evolved more times than some generals changed battle plans. And it still sparks debate to this day. Was it a death trap? Or was it the tank that won the war? Today we're diving deep, really deep, into the M4 Sherman, its origins, its evolution, and every weird, wonderful variant that made it a legend. And hey, this episode was actually requested by a viewer. So if you want to see a deep dive on your favorite piece of history, drop a comment. You never know what might show up next. Let's rewind to 1940. Europe's on fire. America's watching closely. Our armored forces? Not exactly ready for prime time. The Sherman was designed fast and smart. It wasn't built to outgun tigers. It was built to be produced, shipped, repaired, and fielded by thousands. The early M4 weighed roughly about 30 tons. Its armor is 50.8 millimeters in the front hull and a 76.2 millimeter gun mantlet. Its engine, a Continental R975C1 radial gasoline engine. Its speed, 30 miles an hour, roughly. Armament, a 75mm M3 main gun, a 50 cal and a 30 cal machine gun. The idea was simple. One tank, one chassis, many roles. That core concept is why we ended up with dozens of Sherman variants, and it all started with the base M4. Let's break down the mainline models. These were the workhorses of the U.S. Armored Divisions, and each had its own upgrades, strengths, and quirks. The original M4 had a welded hull, early vertical volute suspension, 75mm gun. It was used in North Africa and very early on in Italy. Then came the M4A1. Its cast hull had rounded edges, its Continental radial engine, and it was easier to cast because the curved armor helped deflect rounds. Cons, still thin-skinned by late war standards. Then the M4A2 with a GM 6046 diesel engine. It was usually most by the United States Marine Corps and lend-leased to the Soviet Union and the United Kingdom. Fun fact for you, the Soviets loved it for its reliability, but replaced the 50 cal with their own machine guns. Then you have the M4A3, a Ford GAA V8 engine. Had 500 horsepower. It's considered the best U.S. Army variant by many historians. Became the production standard by late war. It was available with the 75mm or the 76mm gun. Then you have the M4A4. Its Chrysler A57 multi-bank engine. It had a longer hull and was used mainly by British forces. It was the base for Sherman Firefly conversions. Then you move to the M4A6. It was a limited production. Only 75 were ever made. It had a diesel engine, composite hull, it was cast and welded. These base variants were just the beginning. But even here, you can see the brilliance of the Sherman. Different engines, different builds, but one unified platform. Easy to train, easy to fix, easy to ship. The Sherman wasn't static either. Its guns got better. Its armor got thicker. Its role shifted as the war dragged on. Let's talk about some of the upgrades. The armament evolution of the M4 Sherman starts with the 75mm M3 gun. It was standard issue. It was early mid-war, and then as the war progressed, we get to the 76mm M1 gun. It had a higher velocity and a better anti-tank performance. Then you have the 105mm howitzer. It was used for infantry support. Then you have, of course, the 17-pounder British Firefly. Its long-range capabilities allowed it to take out enemy tanks at such long range that usually the M4 Firefly never had to present itself to an enemy force. Early improvements were the Shermans had flat armor, roughly 50 millimeters thick. Late war upgrades included applying more armor and improving the glacis plates. And of course, wet ammo storage, which greatly reduced fires after hits. We'll get into that in a moment. Shermans got called many things throughout the war, especially for critiques. Some called them Ronsons because of early ammo stowage issues. Some called them Tommy Cookers. Some called them Zippo. There are thousands of nicknames that the Sherman was given based on its ability to light every single time an enemy hit it. Basically, if you got hit by an enemy tank, you were going to catch fire, especially in the early variants. But with the switch to wet storage, that fire problem dropped significantly, but the myth stuck. But the tank changed. Alright, buckle up, because we're now going to get into the fun stuff. These Sherman variants prove one thing. If you can dream it, someone tried bolting it to a Sherman. The M4A3E2 Jumbo was an up-armored assault tank with 102 millimeters of frontal armor. Some were rearmed with 76 millimeter guns. It was used in the Battle of the Bulge, and it spearheaded urban assaults due to its heavy armor. The M4A3E8, the Easy 8, probably the most famous variant thanks to a certain movie. Its horizontal volute suspension equals a smoother ride, had a 76 millimeter gun, and is widely considered the best U.S. Sherman by Hollywood. Used in late World War II and the Korean War. Then the Sherman Firefly. A 17-pounder gun could kill tigers at 2,000 meters. Its tall turret and bustle for massive breach. Downside, it had a very slow reload, but it had a huge muzzle flash. It was nicknamed Tiger Killers, Teapots. There's a ton of different names that you can go with it. Then, of course, you have the Sherman Calliope, a rocket launcher mounted above a turret. It was 60 by 4.5-inch rockets. It was mainly used for area suppression, psychological warfare, artillery support. Basically, like I said in the last video, if you put a bunch of fireworks on top of some tank and said that was going to win the war. Basically what it is. Then you have the Sherman DD, or duplex drive. It was an amphibious version made for D-Day. It had a canvas float screen and twin propellers. Problem? Rough seas. Many sank before even hitting the beach. Then of course you have the Sherman Crab. It had a mine flail. It had rotating chains to clear minefields, mainly used in Normandy and Dutch canals with very little combat experience. Then of course the Sherman Tulip. They added rocket rails to the side of the turret, like a Sherman with bazookas on its head. Then of course you have the Sherman ARV for recovery. It had a removed turret, but it added a crane. It was made for battlefield repair and towing. Then of course the Sherman Zippo, or Sherman Flamethrower variant. It was mainly used in the Pacific and used by the Marine Corps in bunker clearing operations. Basically, the Sherman was the Lego of World War II. Tank, artillery, amphibious assault platform, it did it all. And that's why it stuck around long after the war. Let's get real. The Sherman wasn't the best tank in a 1v1. A tiger would chew it up. But the battlefield isn't a cage match. It's chaos. And in chaos, the Sherman shined. The rough statistics of Shermans lost in combat is about 20,000, give or take, who's counting, and the typical ratio was around 5 Shermans for every 1 Tiger. But they were backed by artillery, infantry, and air power. Shermans weren't supposed to win alone. They were part of a bigger picture, combined arms, logistics numbers. When one went down, another rolled up. You can't say the same for German armor. The Sherman didn't even stop in 1945. It kept fighting for decades. Korea, the Middle East, Latin America, even used by Israel in the 6-Day War. In multiple global operations, the Soviets had them, with the Lend-Lease, the UK, Canada, Free French Forces, Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Israel, even West Germany briefly. That's the true legacy of the Sherman. It wasn't a marvel of engineering, it was a marvel of purpose. It lasted because it worked, and because no one ever underestimated the power of showing up ready time and time again. So the next time someone says the Sherman was trash, tell them this. It didn't need to be perfect, it just needed to be there, and it was. From Normandy to Okinawa, from Berlin to the Golan Heights, this was the M4 Sherman, the most versatile, most produced, most battle-hardened tank of World War II. And maybe, just maybe, the one that won it. Drop a comment with your favorite Sherman variant. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Maybe we tackle the Panther next, or the Bob Simple. Let's keep the treads moving.